Lately, I've been just in a story time mood, okay? And story times is easy to do. You feel me? You ain't got to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. Just like doing mukbangs. They easy to do. But I'm gonna tell y'all as this story and trying to make it short as possible. But it probably won't be short, okay? I don't know if y'all can see, but I got a little scar on my arm right here. I'm gonna tell y'all how I got that scarf, how I got that scar on my arm. So I used to date this guy that honestly I met right before he went to prison. Okay, I met this guy and we started to basically date while he was in prison. I used to work at the mall and he would come to the mall every day to catch the bus to go to work and shit. Now at the time when I met him, I didn't realize that he was in a halfway house. I was young. I was probably about 20. I just had started college. So I was about maybe 20 years old when I met him. And I had no clue that he was living in a halfway house, you know. So I worked at a kiosk in the middle of the mall, and he would come to the mall every day to catch the bus. So he would walk past me every day every time I was working. I would see him walking past, and then one day he approached me and me and him just started chatting and stuff like that, and he was telling me that he lived in a halfway house, and I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. So once I got done talking to him, I went and looked it up, you know, and I'm like, oh, so this is a transition house for people that's been in prison, you know. They come and stay here and get their life together, you know, before they go out into society, you know. So I'm like kind of a little hesitant after I figured out what he was, you know, where he was living and shit. I'm like, ugh. But he kept coming up to the job, you know, me and him kept chit-chatting and shit, and we, you know, kind of started, you know, just talking to each other. So I look up and it was like a couple of weeks went by and I didn't see him, you know. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened to him and shit, you know. Now, mind you, we did chit chat on the phone and shit too, you know. He ended up getting my number and stuff, and me and him was just talking or whatever. So, you know, 2 weeks go by and I'm like, damn, you know, I ain't seen him. He ain't called me or nothing like that. So one day I end up getting a call from the jail, and I'm like, you know, what the hell going on? Because, you know, when they call from the jail, it's like, you got a call from so-and-so. We're going to call him Tom. I'm not going to say his real name. We're going to call him Tom. Like, you got a call from Tom. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, so I answer the phone and he's like, hey, listen, you know, I end up, you know, running away from the halfway house because I was at work and I kept coming in late from work. And, you know, you got a curfew, you got to be in at a certain time and shit. So my job kept, you know, holding me. Got caught up in shit. And so I couldn't get there on time. So I had called them one day and I was telling them like, hey, I'm going to be late. And they said, well, this is your third time being late. Once you get here, you know, the police will be here for you and you're going to go back to jail, you know. So he said to himself, like, I'm not finna, you know, go through that. I'm not finna go back to jail. So he end up running on the run. He go back to the state where he from, you know, and shit. So they end up catching up with him and locking him up because of that. So he was like, you know, when you get time, could you please come and visit me, you know? And so because I had feelings for the man already, you know, I went and visited him at the jail. And that was the most crazy experience in the world. Like, I will never forget going through all of that shit, you know, going through the metal, you know, detectors and having to give them all your shit before you go back to see him, and being checked multiple times. I mean, they're all in my head, checking in my head, asking me to take Barbie pins out of my hair. Like, it just used to be a mess. Especially the first time that I went in there, I was just, everything had to come off. My belt had to come off. Like, I'm walking back there barely holding my pants up and shit. Like, that was quite the experience. And then just going back there and the way that the correctional officers would treat you, you know, and talk to you short and all that shit, you felt like you was locked up and shit, you know. But that first day that I came and visit him, it was like I fell in love with him then and there, you know. And so I just continue to see this man, you know. We developed our relationship while he was in prison, you know. And so let me tell you, my mom did not have it. She did not. She was so mad at me for dating somebody that was in prison. My mom kept telling me, all he's doing is telling you shit, you know, just to get you to help him while he's in prison. And once he get out, he gonna be a totally different person. You need to stop wasting your time. You're so young. You're in school now. Like, what you wasting your time with a jailbird for? My mom was just going off on me. Like, it was just a mess. Every time that I'd be going to go see him and shit, my mom would be like, why you going to see that jailbird? You know he ain't doing nothing but lying to you. And then the icing on the cake was where he was at. It took me it was probably a 40-minute drive out there where he was at, right? And so my car was in such bad condition. I mean, it would be times where I would go out and try to start my car wouldn't start, you know? And I was taking a chance of going to see him and taking a chance when I get the hell out of there that I wouldn't be able to go to hell home because my car wouldn't start, you know? So my mom was like, you out there, you know, driving your car all the way out there, your car is messed up, like you taking all these chances for this nigga that ain't gonna do nothing for you when he get out of prison. But shit, you know, I was in love, so I wasn't listening to nothing mom was saying, for real. So anyway, you know, when me and him was dating, I was still living at home with my mom and shit. So when it got to a point, me and him was I would say he was in prison for about 6 or 8 months, you know, maybe even longer than that. I think he was there for a year, actually. He was in there for a year, and I was coming in there consistently visiting him. You know, we developed feelings for each other, started to date. I mean, he was in there singing to me. He was writing me letters, drawing me pictures, and all this type of shit. You know, I'm writing him letters while he's there. Like, the whole shebang. You know how it is if you dated somebody that's in prison before, you know. So it was getting too close to his release date. So he was telling me like, hey, you know, once I get released, you know, they said that if I don't have a place to stay, you know, then I'm going to have to move back to my home state with my mother, you know. And I was like, well, I'm like, I don't want you to do that. You know, that's going to be a whole 5-hour drive, you know. That where your family live at is 5 hours away from where I'm at. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that, you know. I don't want you to do that. So my ass end up going out and getting an apartment. And this was my, you know, first apartment. So I went out and got an apartment. And the only reason I got the apartment, honestly, is so that he can have a place to stay. So we can stay together, you know. So I got the apartment and shit. He gets out. He moves in with me, you know. And I would probably say like the first couple of months that we were together, everything was good, you know. But then after that, that's when I seen the real him come out. You know, the whole time he was in prison, he was telling me about especially when he found out that I got my own apartment and he had a place to stay. You know, he was like, well, when I get out of prison, I'm going to go and find a job right away to make sure I can be able to help you take care of the bills, to make sure I'm able to help you with everything that you need help with. You know, you said the car is running bad. I got a guy that I know can help fix the car and get it together, you know, and stuff like that. So he just saying all this shit, you know. Basically saying all the shit that I want to hear. You feel me? But I quickly found out that that was not the case once he moved in with me. It was a whole different story when he moved in. And so first thing was he finding a job. Now this guy's a felon. You feel me? So as a felon, you only got so many options on where you can work at as a felon. You only can work so many places. So you have only, you know, a minimum amount of opportunities of work when you are a felon. So that was the first issue that we had, finding a job. I mean, this guy came in it wasn't no rush to find a job for him. It wasn't no rush. He came in and saw that, you know, he had a place, he had a form of transportation, it was food on the table. He did not have no get up and go to get a job, even though that's what he told me when he was in prison. You feel me? He would go out to McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, and literally he'll walk in there and people in there he knew, and they'll tell him like, hey, you can get a job right now. We can get you signed up right now, nigga, and your ass can work tomorrow. He'll go through the whole process, getting his stuff together, and then he'll say, I don't want to work at these places. Excuse me, I've always worked at McDonald's and Burger King and things like that. I don't want to work there. He'd go through the whole process of getting the application done, all that stuff, and then when it's time to come in to work, he would say, no, I don't want it. He did that at least 3 times with 3 different fast food joints. And I'm sitting up here saying, like, you are a felon. You only can get so many, you only can work at so many places, dog. Like, pick one. Because at the end of the day, you got to be up in here working, you know. Shit, that boy went months and months without working. And what was I doing? Still working, still paying the bills, still keeping a roof over our head. You know, he didn't have a license. He was taking my car, driving, and I would just let him do it. You know, he'd go and drive my car and run all the gas out the car. And I'm just out here working my ass off. I work third shift at a telemarketing place. And I would be out there working my ass off, you know, come home. He's at home. He's smoking weed. Don't even know how he got the weed because he don't have no money. You feel me? It was just a hot ass mess. Once he got out of prison, he was a totally different person. Just like my mom said he would be. You feel me? So anyway, you know, things just got rough with us because I seen that he wasn't the guy that he said he was, the guy that he pretended to be while he was in prison. You know, he just sat up there not doing shit, wasn't about shit. And it made me so mad because once again, you're eating up my food, you're running my gas out, you're using the lights, you're using the water, and you ain't contributing to nothing. Eventually he started getting food stamps, but it was weird because this whole time I've been buying food, taking care of us, feeding us, but when his ass got his food stamps, it was like he was just like had his certain food that he wanted to get, and it was like he didn't want me to get any other food. You know, he wanted to be in control of his food stamps. He didn't want for me to, you know, get the things that I wanted to get. You know, he'd go out to the store and just get everything that he likes, and certain things he knew I didn't even like eating, you know, but he never would be like, hey, you know, what you want? You know, there was always about what he wanted to do, and he was taking my car to go out and go grocery shopping and shit, you know. So things were just bad between me and him, straight up, just straight bad, you know. But we still held on to each other, you know, through the argument, through the fighting, all that stuff, you know, through the arguments that we had, you know, we still stay together. Like a lot of relationships, you have your issues, but you still stay together, right? But at this point, you know, it was just getting bad. I mean, I was just getting so sick of his shit, him being lazy and shit like that, you know. And we were like getting into it a lot more over what he doing, you feel me? And he just thought that it was, you know, okay. And it was also okay to him because I allowed it as well. You feel me? So I can't, you know, sit up here and be like, you know, he was just such this bad person and this and that. Because at the end of the day, he only did what I allowed him to do. Okay? But, so anyway, he had a friend that moved from his hometown to where we lived, and literally moved into the same apartment building that we lived in, you know. And this was a female friend. So when he said, you know, I got a friend, a really good friend that just moved into this apartment complex, and I'm just saying to myself like, oh, okay, I thought it was a male friend. But he was like, yes, it's a female friend. Me and her been friends since we were kids, you know. I'm surprised that she moved here, but he's like, you really got to meet her. You got to meet her because she's real cool, okay? So one day I'm chilling at the house, you know, watching TV and shit. And he's like, hey, my friend gonna come over here, you know. And I said, okay, no problem. Because he just has been talking about this female friend, you know, off and on and stuff. So I'm like, shit, y'all must be really cool, you know. Because he kept saying like, you gotta meet her, you gotta meet her. So when she came, you know, came into the house, I instantly noticed that she was a stud, you know. I noticed she was a stud. So I was like, oh, okay. So she came in. First thing she did when she walked in our crib, she looked around and she was like, oh man. She said, y'all got a nice little crib here. It's so nice. It smells good in here. It's clean. She's like, man, this is what's up. You know, looking at him like, you know, you done came a long way. And the whole time I'm sitting in the back rolling my eyes because I'm like, this nigga ain't put in on none of this in here. You know, giving him praises for something that his ass said wasn't even didn't do shit. He didn't do shit. He didn't put in on this, okay? All this you looking at is from me. You feel me? But she's like, man, oh, it's just so nice in here. It smells good, this and that. And then he came over. She came over. I kind of get it mixed up sometimes because she was a straight stud. Looked like a straight man, straight up, okay? But she was like, and she's like, she's beautiful. Like, she's really beautiful. And what you do for a living? I told him what I do, I told her what I do. And she was like, wow. Like, is she looking at him like, whoa, like, how the hell you get this? Like, she's clean. She's got this. She did this, blah, blah, blah. So we just talking and shit. So she leave that day, you know, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she is cool. She is cool. So him and her, you know, started to hang out. You know, he'll say, hey, I'm gonna go over to my friend's house, I'm about to play the game, or we about to play spades, or we gonna smoke or whatever and shit. And I'm just like, okay, do your thing. Well, you know, whatever. And she done came over to our house, excuse me, while I was cooking and shit. I had cooked some spaghetti and catfish and garlic bread one time, and she came over and ate, and she was like, now, dude, she looked at him like, and she know how to cook too, you know? And he was like, well, yeah, just, you know, trying to act all cool and shit. And it's like, I just kept rolling my eyes like, ugh, like you act like you know, his ass act like he a big shot caller around here because, you know, the girl is fucking, you know, hyping his head up when he ain't put in on shit, even a meal that we were eating. His ass didn't even put in on none of that. You feel me? So anyway, it was one day that me and him just got into it. We got into it, you know, and I'm like, man, forget this. I'm about to go out with my friend, you know. So I got dressed, went out with my friend and shit, okay. Then I come home, and it's like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that, you know. And when I get there, he's not there. So I'm just saying like, oh, okay, he might be over old girl house hanging out with her and shit, you know. So I'm in the bathroom, you know, taking my makeup off and, you know, getting ready to jump in the shower real quick. And so as I'm doing that, I hear the door unlock and shit. And so I hear the door unlock, the door closes, you know, the front door. I hear the front door unlock and I hear the door close. And so I'm just in the mirror cleaning my face and shit. And I'm looking in the mirror and I can see that he is sticking his head in the bathroom. He comes in because I had the bathroom door cracked, you know. So he comes in and slides his head around the, you know, door, and he's looking at me. And it was just so weird because he didn't, you know, he ain't open the door all the way. It's like he just was like sneaking in and he looked at me. And then I looked up at him like, what you doing? You know, you acting weird and shit. So he, you know, leave. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. But anyway, I come in you know, I go and finish doing what I'm doing, getting the shower and shit. I lay down. And when I lay down, I had the window cracked in my room. And I heard my car, you know, because my car, like I said, it was running really bad. So, I mean, it was loud as hell. When you would push on the gas, it was just loud as fuck. The muffler was all fucked up on it. So I knew that you know, I heard my car go past, and it was like, it went past fast. I'm like, what the hell is this nigga doing? Like, his ass know he ain't got no license. Like, why the hell is he driving my car fast like that? You know? And so I was just like, fuck it. You know, at this point, if the nigga get pulled over or whatever, it is what it is. Like, I'll just come and get my car, you know? But, so I laid there and shit and ended up falling asleep. So I woke up to hearing him unlock the door again. So it was funny because, like, when he came in the room, you know, I'm halfway asleep, but I'm watching him as he coming in the room, and it just, the energy that he was given was like, to me now, I know now, it was guilt, you know, just the way his face looked when he came in the room and he was, you know, taking his clothes off and stuff like that. You know, it just, the energy that he was giving was off to me. It was something that I ain't never felt before. And then the way his face was looking, it just, to me, came across like he was guilty, you know. But I was still pissed, so I just rolled over on my side, and he got in the bed and rolled over on his side, and we ain't say nothing to each other, you know. And I end up going to sleep. So I wake up the next day to some loud banging on my door. Bang, bang, bang. I mean, banging like crazy on the door. I woke up, I'm scared as hell. Like, and I was laying in the, I had fell asleep in my robe, you feel me? So I woke up and I'm like, what the fuck going on? Wake up, he's gone, which I know he was going to be gone because he works in the morning, you know? So, oh, no. I woke up and he was gone. No, what? I think at that time he was working. He had took on a temporary job, which that was annoying me too, because he would, you know, get these temp jobs every now and again, and they would only last like 2 weeks. And then when he did get his check, he would do whatever he wanted to with it, you know. So he was working a temp job at that time. So he was gone, you know. So like I said, I woke up crazy, you know, all discombobulating and shit, you know, looked over and I'm like, okay, he gone at work, you feel me? And so so I go to the door and I don't even look out the peephole, you know. I just open the door. I'm barely covered up and shit, and that's his friend is standing there, you know, the stud standing there. And I'm like, and the way she looked like, you know, like something was wrong. Her facial expression was like something was wrong, you feel me? And I'm up there like, I'm looking at her like, what's going on? What's wrong? And she was like, I got something that I want to share with you. You know, I got something I need to tell you right away, you know. And I'm like, okay, come in. What's going on? So I'm sitting on the couch, excuse me, and I got, you know, coal in my eyes, so I'm rubbing my eyes and shit. And I'm just like, have a seat. What's going on? So she was like, you know, yesterday I had to put your man out my house. And I said, for what? What happened? And she was like, because he was messing with my sister. He was messing around with my sister. And I said, what you mean messing around? And she was like, well, my sister, who just got out of prison, she came over and visited me, right? So we were playing spades and drinking and having a good time and stuff like that. So my sister ended up getting up and going to the restroom. You feel me? And so me and your man was sitting at the table chit-chatting and stuff like that while she was in the restroom. And then all of a sudden, he said he got to go to the bathroom. So he was like, let me go see why your sister taking so long in the bathroom. I'm about to tell her to hurry up and get out the bathroom. You feel me? And she said, so he went, you know, to the went to the bathroom. And so she was just sitting at the table and she looking like, okay, so what's taking them so long? You know, what's going on? Like he been back here for like almost 10, 15 minutes now, you know? So that's what made her go back there. And she said she went to the bathroom and she can hear, you know, them messing around in the bathroom. So that's what made her bust the bathroom door open, and she see that they're in there messing around. And y'all know what I'm talking about. They in there fucking around, okay? So then she said she went in there and she broke them up and was like, what the fuck is you doing? What you doing? You got a whole female at home that takes care of you, and you over here fucking around with my sister? Like, you need to get the hell up out of here, man. You need to get out of here. Like, I don't like that shit. You need to get up out of here. And I'm sitting up here like, what? She was like, yeah. He was in there messing around with my sister. And my sister just got out of prison. Like, she's got children. They done got taken away from her. They're in a foster home. And like, she's like, my sister ain't even on nothing, ain't about nothing. And he was in there messing around with her. And it pissed me off so bad because I know that he got you at home. Excuse me. And I just was sitting there and I was like, just teary-eyed. I'm like, really? She was like, yeah, girl, they was in there messing around. And I just feel that it wouldn't have been, I couldn't hold this in my heart. I couldn't keep this away from you because I know what type of female you are. You're a good woman. You're a good woman. You keep a clean house. You keep food on the table. You have a good job, you know, like, at the end of the day, you don't deserve that. So I said, I literally contemplated the whole night after I threw both him and her out the house. And he said, and I keep saying she said that, you know, she put them out the house and then she looked out the window and she saw that she got in my car with him. So not only did you cheat on me, but you put the bitch that you cheated on me with in my car. Okay? So I was really like, oh, for real? Okay. So she was like, I just have to come over here and tell you this. Like, you deserve better than that. I couldn't just walk around here and not tell you that, you know. And I just was, you know, wiping the tears from my eye. And I'm just like, well, you know, I appreciate you coming over here and telling me. I really do, you know. And she's like, I wouldn't have felt right being around and keeping this a secret from you because you don't deserve that. And I know what type of nigga this is. I know that, you know, he was in prison. He told me everything about y'all. He was in prison. Then he told me you had a place ready for him when he got out of prison so he didn't have to move home. Like, you're a good woman and you do not deserve this. So I had to come over here and tell you. And I was like, okay, well, I appreciate that. And she was like, well, she said, you know, if you want me to, I can come back later when he's off of work, you know, and tell him that I told you that you know, what he did or whatever. She's like, I can come over here when he get off of work and shit, and I'll confront him, you know, about this situation and shit. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like, damn, you know, like, y'all been friends for a long time, you feel me? Like, I was surprised that she came over and told me that because they have been friends for years, you know. And so I was like, okay, well, you can do that, you can come back over later. And she was like, okay. So before she left, she's like, you okay? Because I was crying and stuff. She's like, you okay? You gonna be okay? And I said, yeah, I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right. But I said, you know, it makes sense though. It makes sense, you know, just the way he came into the house yesterday, the way he looked when he came in the house, I could tell that something was going on. And to me, it looked like he was guilty, you know. Just the way he came in to the bathroom and how he was peeking around the corner to see if I was here or something. So that made me think, okay, so he was trying to see if I was at the house so he can bring that female over there. Then you turned around and since you saw that I was here, you and the female took off in my car and went somewhere, you know. Then you came back hours later, you know. So I'm like, I knew that she wasn't lying just by his behavior, you know. And I was like, I'm gonna be all right, but you come back later, right? So she came back later around the time that he gets home from work and shit. So she was like, well, I'm just gonna sit on the couch, you feel me? And I'm like, cool. So just as she get there, I can hear my car pulling up. Because like I said, that motherfucker was loud as hell. I can hear it from miles away. So I hear the car pulling up, you know. So I'm leaning up against the wall with my arms folded and shit. I'm sitting there with my arms folded. So when he come into the door, you know, his face, he just looking normal and shit. And then he seen me leaning up on the wall, and he looking at me like, what the hell, you sitting on the wall like, you know, like you a bodyguard or some shit. Then he turned and he seen old girl sitting in the seat, and that's when his whole face fell down. You could just tell he was like, oh shit, what the fuck, what's going on? And I looked at him, I said, hey, do you got something you want to tell me? And he looked at me and was like, what you mean, do I got something I want to tell you? I said, do you got something that you want to tell me? And he was like, and then that's when the friend stood up and said, yeah, you do got something you want to tell her. Tell her what happened yesterday. Tell her why I put you out my house yesterday. And he just instantly went off on a friend. What the fuck you talking about? What you mean? Well, you put me out the house yesterday. You need to get up out my house. You need to get out my crib right now. You need to leave right now. I said, no, she ain't gonna leave right now, nigga. Tell me what happened yesterday. What you mean what happened yesterday? And then the girl, she got up and was like yelling at him, tell her what happened yesterday. Why I put you out my house. Why I put you out my house. And I looked at him, I said, so you cheated on me, man? I said, you cheated on me after all this shit that me and I went through for you, what I've done. I said, you cheated on me, huh? What you talking about? What's going on? I said, you ain't even answering the question. I said, you cheated on me, didn't you? You cheated on me. And the friend sitting up there like, yeah, he cheated on you. He cheated on you with my sister. This and that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they was going at it, going back and forth. Finally, he was like, you need to get the fuck out of my house before I beat your ass. You sitting up here causing all this confusion between me and my girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And I said, she ain't causing no confusion. She coming in here telling the truth about what happened. She ain't causing no confusion. She just saying what the fuck happened, nigga. What happened? So he ended up yelling at her so bad and threatening to beat her ass. And she was like, you know, she said, I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to get up out of here. But you know you was wrong for how you did this girl, man. You know you was wrong for that. So she ended up leaving and stuff. And I said, once she left the door, once she closed that door, I said, you got about an hour to get your shit and get the hell up out of here. You got about an hour to get your shit and get the hell up out of here before it be a big ass mess up in here. What you mean I gotta get my shit and get out? I'm not finna go nowhere. I'm not finna do nothing. She's sitting up here trying to tell you what's going on. I said, so you didn't cheat on me? So you didn't cheat on me? So you didn't put the girl in my car and drove her wherever she needed to go and hung out with her for hours after that? You didn't do nothing. Well, I mean, he was just all over the place. You can tell that he was fucking lying. I said, you fucking cheat on me. You better get your shit and get the fuck up out of here right now. This nigga ain't trying to do shit. He just sitting on the couch. I'm not finna go nowhere. I'm not finna do shit. So what did I do? I politely went into the motherfucking room, took all his shit, all his clothes that was hanging up on the, hanging up. I opened the front door. I started taking the shit, throwing it out in the hallway. So he's sitting on the couch and just watching me do it. Then he got so mad. He stood up like, stop throwing my shit out in the hallway. Stop throwing all my shit. I said, I told you, you got to get up out of here in an hour. You want to sit here and act like ain't nobody saying nothing to you. Your shit is going out in the hallway. Throwing the shit out in the hallway. Throwing the shit. So finally, he got up. Well, he was already up. He walked over to me and was like, you're not going to keep throwing my shit out in the hallway. Still throwing the shit out. Still going into the bathroom, getting his clippers, throwing them bitches out in the hallway. Throwing everything out in the hallway. So finally, I throw some shit out there, excuse me. And that's when he came and grabbed me. Now this nigga, he, you know, was a smoker. So he kept his thumbnails long so that he can open a blunt with them. He kept his thumbnails really long so he can break the blunt down with that. You know, the rest of his fingernails was short as hell, but them thumbnails, they was long. So he comes and grabs me as I'm throwing the shit out out in the hallway, and he takes me and pushes me up against the wall. And that is when I got this cut on my damn arm. At the time, I didn't realize it because the adrenaline, everything rushing. Yeah, I didn't even feel the pain on my arm at all, you know. And once he pushed me up against the wall, I got up out of there and I still took all his shit and threw it in the hallway and shit. So in the midst of that, I called my mom, you know, and I said, Mom, I'm gonna need you to get over here right now before I hurt this nigga. I said, you need to get over here right now. My mom lived down the street. So my mom came, and she came, and she, you know, I can hear her walking down the hall, you know, and she like, what's all this shit doing out in the hallway? And she walking in, what's all this shit doing out in the hallway? So she come in, step over the clothes, and she see me, I'm all out of breath, and he's sitting on the couch. And Mom's like, what's going on? What's going on? What happened? What y'all doing? I'm hearing you yelling down all the way down the hallway. You need to stop doing all that yelling for you get put out the house. And I stopped. I'm like, hey, I said, tell my mom what happened. I said, tell Mom why y'all all your shit out in the hallway. I said, tell Mom what's going on. And he stopped and he looked at her and was like, Miss Candy. He's like, I cheated on your daughter. And my mom was like, huh? You did what? He said, I cheated on your daughter. She like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Now, by that time, he don't know. I didn't came around the corner and I'm standing behind his ass, about getting ready to put his ass in a full Nelson. Okay? I spun the nigga around and put him in a full Nelson in that motherfucker. That's what I was getting ready to do. Put that nigga in a full Nelson. Okay? And Mom seen it in my eyes. Seen that I was about to pop the fuck off. And she said, hey, Keiki, don't do that now. She said, let him get the rest of his stuff and get on up out of here. Don't put your hands on that man. Don't do that. Okay? So my mom saved him for getting choked out. Okay? So, end up, threw all this shit down the hallway, threw a couple trash bags out there for his ass, and closed the door on him. And one of his family members came and picked him up and shit. You feel me? So I'm sitting there, you know, on the couch and I'm crying and stuff. And my mom come up to me and she's, you know, rubbing my arm and stuff and telling me, Keiki, it's okay. It's okay. This stuff happened. Things like this happen. It's all good. It's all good. And she was the one that was like, your arm is bleeding. And I was like, huh? And I looked down and I had like blood running all down my arm and shit. And I'm like, what happened? I'm looking confused as hell. And it's just like, soon as I seen the blood, that's when I felt the pain then, you know. And I'm looking and my damn arm was split open. Like it was down to the white meat. What I should have done was go to the fucking hospital and get some stitches because the cut was just that deep. You feel me? Just that damn deep. So I'm like, Mom, you know, Mom is like, you know, you probably need to go to the hospital. That's a pretty deep cut. You need to go to the hospital. You know, you bleeding like this and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not finna go to the hospital. I just cleaned it up with some peroxide and put some tissue on it and just held it right there. And I'm just sitting there. I'm just hurting and hurting. My mom, she just sitting there talking to me like, it's okay. These things happen. It happens, baby. It ain't gonna do nothing but just make you stronger. That's all. It's okay. He's out the house. It's gonna take, you gonna heal and you're gonna be okay. And I'm just, you know, basically what mom's saying is going in one ear and out the other because I'm just so hurt. I'm like, shit, you know, all this stuff that me and him been through together. I didn't sacrifice, you know, moving out my mom's house. You know, I moved out my mom's house to get a place for him and, you know, because I wasn't really ready to move, but I did it because I wanted us to have a place so he didn't have to move so far away, you know. And I'm just sitting up there thinking about everything. And so Mom was like, well, you know, I got to go because, you know, my little brother, he was a baby then, you know, and she left him with, you know, some family members or something like that, you know. So she was like, I gotta go get your brother because I know he probably somewhere crying and shit for me, you know, because he was my little brother was so spoiled when he was younger. So she's like, I gotta go get, you know, my baby, you know, I gotta go get get him and shit. You know, I just left him with your auntie, you know, and shit. So she was like, I gotta go, you know. She like, do you want to come home with me? You don't have to stay here. You could come home. You know, you can come home and stay with me for a couple of days or whatever. And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm gonna go ahead and let you, you know, go. I'm gonna let you go. So she left, you know, and I, you know, go jump in the shower because I was sweating and just a hot ass mess. I jump in the shower and I go and lay down. And I mean, I cried myself to sleep that night. Cried, you know. And so the next day I woke up, and when I tell you I was so sore, I was sore as fuck. I mean, shoulders hurting, my arm hurt where I got cut at. Even my damn hands was hurting because I was in that bitch like how waiting to exhale when she was getting all them motherfucking clothes out and throwing shit in 50 years of days, whatever the fuck she said, whatever she was saying in there. I was in that bitch like waiting to exhale. So I was grabbing them damn plastic motherfucking hangers, throwing shit, and hit myself in the head, trying to pull the hanger off the thing. And I was just all sore the next day and shit, you know. So I'll never forget, I had some neck bones. I had some neck bones in the refrigerator that I had planned on cooking anyway, you feel me? So baby, when I tell you I put my heart and my soul into them neck bones, I cleaned the shit out of them neck bones. I threw them bitches in a pot. I put all that hurt, that pain, I put all that shit in that pot. You feel me? I seasoned them bitches down, got them bitches all together. So they was cooking and shit. And so I end up, you know, laying out on the couch in the living room and just still teary-eyed and just thinking about shit. And I hear a little knock on the door. So I go look out the peephole this time, and it's the old girl and shit. So she come in and she's like, I just wanted to come over and just see how you was doing. You know, I haven't seen you in a couple of days or whatever and shit. And she was like, I just wanted to see how you was doing and shit. And I'm like, I'm doing all right, you know, I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there and stuff. And she was like, girl, she said, you know, after I left, you know, I was just chilling in my apartment or whatever. And she said, all of a sudden, I just got some banging on my door. And I mean, it was bang, bang, bang. And she said it was, you know, my ex at the time now. She was like, it was your ex-boyfriend. He was banging at my door, trying to break the door down. And he was cussing me out. Bitch, you done ruined my relationship. Now I ain't got nowhere to go. And blah, he was trying to break that girl's door down. She was like, she sat there and let him do all of that, you know, for a minute and pretended like she wasn't at home. But her door had like blinds on it, and he can see through the cracks in the blinds, and he seen that she was in there. And he was like, bitch, I know you in here. I know you in here. You done fucked up everything that I got going on. I don't even have nowhere to stay now. Blah, blah, blah. You told her that what happened. I'm thinking me and you was cool, and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, man, that nigga was kicking my door down. Finally, I had to tell him, if he keep doing this, I'm about to call the police on your ass. So that's what made him stop. And he was like, bitch, I better not never see you on the street again. I'm going to kill your ass. And she was like, you know, he eventually left and shit. But she was like, that nigga was trying to tear my door down and beat my ass because I came over here and told you what happened. And I was like, really? Really? She's like, yeah, it was crazy. But she's like, I just wanted to make sure that you was okay, you know, and make sure everything was good with you. And I said, you know, I'm doing good. You know, I'm doing as good as I can be. I'm a little sore, you know, and stuff like that. And she was like, man, it smells good up in here. What you cooking? I'm like, I'm making some neck bones. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what's up. That's an old school Southern type of meal. You know, she's like, you know, you be really throwing down and blah, blah, blah. So we talked for a little minute. She was like, well, I ain't gonna take too much more of your time, you know. She was like, I just want to make sure you're doing good. And she was like, just know that, you know, I don't live too far from you. So if you need somebody to talk to, or, you know, you want to hang out or whatever, she was like, just let me know, you know, I'm just right down the hall or whatever. But she's like, I'm just going to let you go though. And I, just take care or whatever. And it was funny because after that day, I never seen her no more. I never seen her. Up until that point, I would see her kind of in passing. She'd be, walking outside or something like that. But it was funny because after that, I never seen her. I never talked to her no more. But I want to tell y'all, them neck bones that I made, they was the best neck bones that I have ever made. I done made neck bones plenty of times before that and after that. But they didn't hit. They never hit as good as they hit that day that I sat down and ate my food. Them neck bones were so good. And I just kept saying that that's all that pain you put in there. That's all that sadness that you put. While I was cooking, I was crying making them damn neck bones. But baby, when they came to fuck out, them bitches was banging. Never made them as good as that ever since. You feel me? So I would probably say it's probably been about maybe a week since I put the nigga out the house, right? So I had a house phone at the time. So I get a call on my house phone and I'm like, hello? And it's him. He said, hello? And I said, what's going on? What you want? What? I just was stuttering and shit. Hey, what do you want? He was like, hold on, wait. He's like, I'm just calling because I'm going, I want to come over and get the rest of my things, which he literally had like just a few things, like literally the stuff that he had at the house at that point. He could have just chalked it up as a loss. It wasn't really nothing that he couldn't replace, like some body wash, some body spray. He might have had like a hat or two over there. It was just literally not really anything over there, over at my house still that belonged to him, and so he was like, yeah, so I wanted to come over there and get the rest of my things, and I said, all right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get all your things, the rest of your things, and I'm going to put them in a bag. And I said, whenever you get a ride over here, just knock on the door. I'm here today, so I'm here all day. I said, just knock on the door and I'll give you your stuff. I said, even if you can't come and you can send one of your family members over here to get it, I'll give it to them. But I said, if your stuff is not, if you don't have nobody over here by the end of the night, then your stuff will be sitting by the trash. Okay. So I said, you got until the end of today. And if it's not here, if you're not here to pick it up or someone else is not here to pick it up, if someone else doesn't come to pick it up, I said, your stuff will be sitting next to the trash. I won't put it in the trash. I'll sit it next to the trash. So when you do get time, you can come over here and pick it up and just hope nobody else come and get the shit. And he was like, well, I was just hoping that you would come and pick me up or bring it to me. I said, have you lost your damn mind? What do I look like bringing you anything or coming to pick you up to come and get some shit? He was like, wait, well, why are you acting like this? Like, why are you acting like this? I'm only coming over there to pick my stuff up. You only coming to drop it off to me. I said, do you not realize that you fucking cheated on me, dude? I'm not finna do a motherfucking thing for you. You come and get your shit or it's gonna be sitting out by the trash. Click. Guess who didn't come and get their shit? Guess whose shit was sitting next to the trash? Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Okay? You gonna talk about why you acting like this? As if you didn't fucking cheat on me. I don't owe you anything, nigga. I done enough for you. Crazy. Crazy. That's the end of this story. But I do want to say one more thing, though. So, me and him have been together for some years and shit. So I had to, break it to my friends, that we used to hang out with from time to time and shit. And I'm telling them like, yeah, me and him broke up because he cheated on me. And everybody was like, wow, for real? Man, that's messed up. This and that. So maybe a month go by after we broke up. And I'm meeting up with my friends. And they're like, so you and him ain't talked to each other, since y'all broke up and stuff? I said, no, we haven't talked to each other. And they were like, Well, I would have just thought that you would have tried to work things out between you two because y'all had been together for so long. You know, I would have thought you, and I was like, my motherfucking head was turning like the Exorcist in that motherfucker. I'm like, bitch, did you not hear what I said? I said the motherfucker cheated on me. There's no backseas after that. The shit is over with after that. Who the fuck do you think I am? I had to go off on their ass. Did you not hear what I said? I said he cheated on me. There's no coming back after that, bitch. You knew what the sacrifices that I made for this nigga, and then for you to turn around and cheat on me. And not only did you cheat on me, but you cheated on me with somebody that didn't have shit going for themselves. You feel me? That be the part that's be hurtful too. Not only did you cheat, but you didn't go and cheat with a bitch that's doing better than what I'm doing. You go get with a bitch that's ain't doing shit about shit. That shit hurt too. And they just was like, whoa, okay, all right then. Like, don't say no stupid shit like that. Once a motherfucker cheat on you, they're gonna always cheat. That's a given. That's the what they say. It just what it is. If a motherfucker cheat on you, they're gonna always cheat on you. You don't take no motherfucker back that cheated on you. Not in my book anyway. And I know what type of bitch I am. You will always be reminded that you cheated. I would never be able to trust you. Every time your ass want to do anything, go anywhere without me, I'm gonna tell you, oh, you going with that bitch, huh? The bitch you cheated on me with? Oh, you say you going to the store? Don't lie to me. You going out with that bitch. That's what type of person I am. So we could never work out. Because I would never forget that you cheated on me. Yeah, you will continually be reminded. And what are we in a relationship for if I got to continually remind you that you cheated on me? No. I had to cuss my friends out too. The hell y'all think this is? The heck going on, man? So, that's the end of this damn story, dog. And I ain't mean for it to be almost an hour, but hey, it is what it is. If you made it to the end, throw up the peace signs in the chat, okay? Throw up the peace signs. But yeah, y'all, your girl, I'm telling you, I got some story times upon story times for y'all ass, straight up, okay? Okay, but I'm gonna get out of here on this one, dog. For real. It's funny because when I be making neck bones and shit, it makes me think about that time that I put my heart and my soul in that part of neck bones. Okay? Every time I make them, every time I be eating, it just come up in my mind. Like, I remember that time that I made them damn neck bones and them bitches was so fire. So fire. So fire. I actually feel, oh man, I got a taste for some neck bones right now. Straight up. But yeah, y'all, that's the end of the story time. I'm gonna holler at y'all next time, okay? Next time.